the mound is a later model of this vehicle, what they then called the M5 version. They were going to call the next model the M4 light tank, but it was just at the same time as the M4 Sherman was coming out, and even us tank nerds get a bit confused about all this, so they decided instead of calling it the M4 light tank when we had the M4 Sherman medium tank coming out, they decided to call the next version of it the M5. And that M5, you can see this time the driver's got his head out the hatch, so he looks above rather than straight forward. It's got extra bits on the side of the turret, and that was placed there to protect the machine gun mount. And on this particular M5 as well, we've also got the deep wading apparatus that would have been fitted before the D-Day landings. So again, American light tanks. Later in the war, of course, we don't think of these as fighting tanks. They're really there for scouting, reconnaissance, and the armour there, the armament, the 37mm gun, they actually got rid of those on some of the versions of the vehicle. They took the turrets off, because for scouting they thought all-round visibility was better, and the weapon system was really almost superfluous. So if we bump into the enemy, we just drive away as quick as we can rather than trying to fight them. Now there's our famous M4 Sherman. This is a late war production Sherman. This is the tank that we used in the Fury movie, that was the main hero tank, as it were. Brian, who's driving it, he was on the set with Buzz, our workshop guys, for about 6 months. Our Tiger tank went up onto that film set for a couple of weeks. Famously, the producers said there was more paperwork and admin to get the Tiger on the set than there was getting Brad Pitt, Logan Lerman and the rest of the crew there. We knew at the time we could not make a mess of our Tiger, or indeed the Sherman. So we were very, very careful in ensuring that everything was covered off, how many engine starts, how many turns, how many days we were going to let the Tiger be run. And in fact, it was only 2 days filming they got that battle scene with our Tiger. It was about 6 months. Overall, this Sherman did about 100 kilometers while it was on the set there. It's, as I mentioned, a late war version. You've got this, what they call the HVSS suspension, a different type of suspension than some of the early Shermans. Wider track, and again we've got rubber block track on this vehicle, thicker armour on the front, and that higher velocity 76mm gun. Technology on guns, the Americans as well. Later in the summer of 1944, they get HVSS ammunition. What's that mean? High velocity ammunition, again using things like tungsten. So if you've got a tungsten core to the round, it can penetrate more enemy armour. Now, a bit of an anachronism here, we've put a Cullen hedgerow device on the front of this. The idea was, when we invaded in Normandy, we'd done a huge amount of preparation. The American, Canadians, British forces looking at what was likely to be coming. But from the aerial photos, it was very hard to see exactly that bocage countryside. We could see all the small fields, but no one quite knew that the hedges were so built up. Deep sunk roads, high hedge embankments. So they decided they needed to improvise. How do we not go down those roads or cross a high bank, exposing our soft under armour? Or, again, getting stuck, quite simply, because the Germans would wait to block one of the narrow lanes. So what they ended up doing, an American sergeant called Cullen, he went back to the beaches, grabbed some German anti-tank defences, like those tetrahedrons we've got on the field, cut up the metalwork, welded it on the front of his tank, and made it what they call a Cullen hedgerow cutter. And the idea there is the tank would cut through the top of a bank, cut down those bushes, knock down the first couple of feet of the bank so that it could go straight ahead. And that meant we could cross fields rather than actually going around the roads. And of course the Germans were laying in wait on the roads. They weren't necessarily expecting the tank to come straight at them. So that was, again, a brilliant little bit of field improvisation that often goes on in armies. We cannot skirt the problem. Military has to face up to it. And using clever, simple ideas, it's another reason this museum is being used